Welcome, YouTube. This your man Slick. You know what we're going to talk about today a little bit? Puppy. Diddy. Discuss a little bit about the trial that's going on. And as it stands right now, I think he's going to walk after it's all said and done. And I know we ain't heard all the evidence yet, but I believe he's going to walk. I kind of feel like this is just a punishment for him for just making some high up people mad at him. And because the charges that he's being charged with, I haven't seen no evidence of that showing that he's guilty of them charges. So I don't really think that he's going to be, I know just my opinion, I know he's going to walk, but I don't know what the circumstances will be, like if they do give him a sentence and just dismiss it or say time served or house arrest or or he might even make a deal with them and it'll be time served and maybe the rest of the time on ankle monitor or on probation or something like that. So, and like I said, we still ain't heard the whole trial yet, so they ain't no telling what's going to pop up, as time goes. But it's really interesting. I know I was watching Matthew Cox on YouTube last night, and he said something that was real funny. It had me laughing. And they was discussing different things, but they mentioned that Puppy gave Cassie $20 million settlement between him and her. Then he said on the stand she admitted that she's getting $10 million from the hotel where she was assaulted at for a settlement. So that's $30 million. And what Matthew Cox had said on his channel, he said, you can smack me around like a bee for that kind of money. But he actually said the word, but I won't say the word, but y'all know what I'm talking about. And when he said that, it just came out of left field, and I just died laughing because I thought it was funny that he said they could smack him around as long as they give him, $30 million. But he's an interesting character. If y'all ain't familiar with him, look him up. It's Matthew Cox on YouTube. And he's a character, But his channel's interesting, he has good guests on his channel and stuff like that. But when he said that, it just had me rolling, But, so, whether he was joking or if he was serious, I don't know. But it just sounded kind of crazy when it just came out of left field. He said that. But hopefully hopefully the case will, be over in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe. So it's clear they got a lot of stuff to present. But the defense, they haven't put nobody on the stand yet, so I think they're going to wait till last and put their people on the stand, if it makes it that far. It may not make it to the end of the trial, and something might go south or north or west or east on that. You just never know. People that's got a lot of money and knows a lot of powerful people. You just never know. A lot of people think, and this is just my opinion. I don't know if, what you think about it, but my opinion is he just made somebody real mad, and they came after him. And now I don't know if they're just trying to strip him of everything he's got, or just giving him a punishment, and this is what he's got to go through, But that remains to be seen, as time progresses. But because I just know, just by me knowing what I know, they haven't proved anything that they got them, that they got him indicted on. They're talking about that. Yeah, he's, domestic violence and, all that other stuff, bad with the women and stuff like that. But as far as what he's being charged with, I don't see no evidence yet that's proving that. But I'll be the first to say that I'm against men or anybody that puts their hands on women, So you definitely gonna have to be checked for that. And then what really surprises me, I don't care how much money you got. What really surprises me that, if he's beating that girl like he was doing, and some other girls too, I just don't understand. They don't have no brother, they don't have no uncle, they don't have no daddy. What's going on? Why? I just can't understand why, if this was really happening, why somebody didn't go check him. It doesn't matter how much money you got, And, I don't know, but that's just my opinion. If he, we seen the video at the hotel, and that was just straight up wrong, And then at the same time, you don't know if he was, I ain't making no excuses for him, but at the same time, you don't know if he was intoxicated, peeled up, and not even really realizing what he's doing. You know what I mean? So, that ain't no excuse, but I'm just saying that's really the only thing that, the public has seen is that video. And then with her testimony, it's kind of out there because she's like, this happened, that happened, then I went back, then, I left and then went back again and all that. It's just, it doesn't seem like she was real afraid of him. Because if you was afraid of somebody like that, you wouldn't keep going back to him. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But like I said, as it stands right now, I believe he's going to walk. And I really don't know how it's going to unfold. But, I do believe he'll walk, Not saying he might not get probation or ankle bracelet or something like that. And then again, they might come to agreement and say time served, because if all they got is that video where he's, domestic violence, I guess you'd say on that. And then the gun situation, I don't even think that's in the indictment. But even if it is, and you got security all around you and all that, who's to say that the guns even belong to him? You know what I mean? So, you know, that remains to be seen too. So I don't know, I'm trying to stay on it as much as I can, but I'm kind of busy doing other things. But I try to touch base and check in and see how it's going, who's testifying and all that. But, you know, it's just beginning to be a circus if you think about it, because the charges that he's being charged with, I don't think I'm the only one that's saying that they haven't proved anything yet as far as what he's being charged with. So, but a lot of people are saying, well, maybe they're just laying it out, showing what type of character he is and all that, and then all the other stuff's gonna come later, and that just remains to be seen. But I really feel like that he's gonna, walk from this. I really don't think he's gonna be found guilty of all them charges that they got and sent away for a long time, But I could be wrong, this is just my opinion. We'll see at the end of the rainbow, But, he's made a lot of contributions to things and all that. And then a lot of people, saying that he's done a lot of dirt and he just paid his way out of it. And, people liked him and all that, and they looked the other way and stuff like that. But, basically what it boils down to in the court of law, if you can't prove it, I mean, it's just hearsay, And these days, a lot of people got something to say, whether it be true or false. You know what I mean? So, and, I just, I'm against anybody putting their hands on women, stuff like that. That's my whole theory that, he shouldn't have did that. But like I said, he could have been intoxicated on, they ain't no telling what he was on, at that point. So, and then, he probably just got in a rage and just, went off, and, he will have to pay the consequences for that. But, I don't know what kind of time you get for doing that, because like I said, I'm against it. And I don't know of anybody that's went through that, so I don't really know what kind of time you get for, because the way the video looked to me, I'm not like trying to throw him under the bus or anything, but the way it looked to me is he stopped her from leaving when she wanted to leave. Then he kicked her, but I don't know if the kick actually hit her or whatever. It showed him kicking, but I don't know if it actually connected. So basically, he just slammed her down the ground, kicked, and then he drug her for a little ways. So from my understanding, if you move somebody over 3 feet, that's called kidnapping. If you move them over 3 feet against their will, not unless they have changed that law, but that used to be the law where if you move somebody 3 feet against their will, they can charge you with kidnapping, But basically all it is he grabbed her, slung her down, he kicked. I don't know if he connected when he kicked, I really couldn't tell on the video. But, and then she has, they have photos and stuff with her having some injuries. And she says it was from him. But see, there's no proof of that neither. I mean, she's got pictures of injuries, but there ain't no proof that he did it. You know what I mean? So, not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying, all that, you got to take all that in account. But I'm one totally against domestic violence and all that because I grew up around it, and I just have no toleration for that kind of stuff. And so, and I'm sure at this point in time, he regrets, whatever he's done. Because, he's not for sure if he's going to get turned loose or if he's going to stay there for a long time. But I'm sure behind the scenes, they're probably trying to work out a deal where, he can probably do time served and the rest of the time, with an ankle bracelet or probation or something like that. Because truthfully, as it stands, all the testimony that I've seen, it's the only thing I've seen is, domestic violence, and he tried to hold her against her will, but he didn't do it because the reason he didn't do it is the security guard let her go. You see what I'm saying? So he tried to hold her against her will, but he didn't hold her against her will because she was able to leave. So, and that's kind of stuff that they look at, in court and stuff like that. Because it's just got to be proven. Each scenario that you're trying to say has got to be proven, So, we'll just have to see what it all unfolds and who all takes a stand and all that. But, you know, and I guess that could have been why, all the testimony that she did give when she had the lawsuit, that could have been that stuff he probably didn't want out is the reason he settled with her and gave her $20 million. But check it out. He gave her the money and it still, everything still came out what she said. So, going through this kind of stuff, I don't know if his better option would have been to go to court instead of settling it out with her, I don't really know, but, you wouldn't know until you're in that position. And then I'm sure in certain things he makes decisions, but in certain situations, somebody's, probably guiding him, telling him what's the best way to do it, And then that's probably how he decided to go ahead and give her the $20 million. And, so she wouldn't say all the stuff she said in court. And who knows, she might not have said everything. She might have just said, 25% of what she knew, who knows. But I will say this, he's put out a lot of good music over the years. And I know the stories where people say he ripped them off and all that, I know, the stories about that. But a lot of people, got good opportunities, and then a lot of people didn't get opportunities, And so, it's kind of hard to justify the situation because, with him having people's publishing and then giving it back to him at the end of the rainbow, stuff like that. I don't know what that was really about. I don't know if this was like, here's my way to apologize, but even though this might not be worth no money anymore, I don't know what the situation was on that. But a lot of people has, uh, sour stuff to say about him, basically the people who's had encounters with him and people that's signed with him and stuff like that. So, they know what they know, and if they felt like they've been cheated, then that's their opinion. But basically, I'm just saying on this video that I believe when it's all said and done, he's going to walk. And I kind of feel like this is a punishment for him. And we'll see how it unfolds. But I also do like the song that Faith Evans made, and the other dude, I know his name, I can't think of it, but y'all know who I'm talking about. That song, I'll Be Missing You. I really, that song's really got some heart to it, and they really did a good job on that. So I like that song to the day, and I'm sure a lot of people like that song. So, I just hate to see myself, I hate to see anybody go up from the ghetto, from the hood, and get up in a good place. And I've seen this happen with football players, pro football players, uh, movie actors, all different types of people, man. I just could, every time I see somebody take a fall, you just can't understand why they tried so hard to make it. Then when they made it, and they're doing really well, then they piss it all away. And then there's a lot of people behind the scenes talking about, it's got a lot to do with high up people, and when you piss them off and get them mad and stuff like that, they're just gonna burn your TP down. You know what I mean? So, but then a lot of the people were guilty of the certain things that they did. And I'm just talking about as a whole, and but I'm just I've been making it throughout my life, stuff like that, and I've been trying to do better and better as I go. But I just hate to see somebody go from nothing basically and make it up to in the millions, and then next thing you know, you see them on the news or whatever, and they just shitted everything away. It's just hard for me, because I would say this: if you're going to get if you're going to get famous and you're on the road to being famous, make sure that you hire people around you that's got your best interests. Not just the yes people who say yes to everything you say, but people that really have your best interests in mind, Because if you ain't got them kind of people around you, things ain't gonna work out right. Eventually you will fall, you know. So, and then some people, I've talked to many people, and some people say that they just like it just the way they are, working, and living day to day and stuff like that. And they just good right there where they're at. And then, because they say, they see a lot of people get rich and get famous and stuff like that, but it ain't all of what it's, cracked up to be. People say they have more problems than the regular Joe, you know. People with a lot of money have more problems than somebody that's just making it. And I could see that could be true, but I hate to see anybody rise up and take a fall. No matter what it's in. The NFL, NBA, the movie industry, the music industry. I just hate to see anybody take a fall that's really trying to do well. But hopefully, after this is said and done, like I said, as it stands right now, my opinion is he's going to walk. But hopefully, I'm sure he's had plenty of time to think this through and to be a different person when he gets out. Because I'm definitely one that wouldn't like to see nobody, be locked down or anything like that. But, if you do wrong and it's proven, then it is what it is. But, hopefully this gets straightened out. And, like I said, the only thing I see really is domestic violence. And, that's proven, but he's not charged with domestic violence. So that's basically all I see. And I feel like he's gonna walk, and just due to the jury that he has, I really feel like he's gonna walk. But I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion as of right now. Now, I'll do another one later on as time progresses and see if I'm at the same point. But right now, I believe he'll walk. And like I said, I don't know how it'll unfold, if what scenario will happen. But that's just my opinion. And I hope people don't, think the wrong thing. But, everybody's got opinions. So, some people's going to say walk. Some people's going to say he's going to be found guilty. So, it's just different scenarios, people are thinking. So we'll see how it goes. A lot of people's talking about this trial. And it's interesting because all the coverage that it's getting, and then the music that people's playing as they're riding past the courthouse, stuff like that. It's just something else. And yeah, I kind of think it's a little bigger than I think it's a little bigger than the OJ trial. But it's not as serious as the OJ trial was. Because basically they gotta, you know, prove that he's guilty of the charges that he's being charged with. If that don't come, don't come up, there ain't nothing happening. It's gonna be a closed park. So, but my prayers is with, all the people involved, everybody, and like I said, if you did something that's, heinous and that's against the law, then by all means, yes, if you get found guilty, yes, you need to pay the consequence. But only if you're found guilty of the charges that you're being charged with. And so far, that's not happening. That's why it's kind of like a circus right now. It's just, but they still got a lot more time to go. And there's never, you never know what's gonna pop up next, So it's really interesting, for that standpoint. But and then another thing I think about too is if you got some grown people that's in a relationship and they're doing whatever in their bedroom or whatever, or in their motel room or whatever, that's that's their business, So, we'll see what happens, because I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that, that does, different things and stuff like that. And, and people like different things, if you're grown people and you're together and stuff like that, you're in relationships, stuff, different folks, different strokes for different folks, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like they was in public, you know what I mean? So